As the movie begins, we see the time in 1939. A girl is standing here. It was dark everywhere. She had the cross of Jesus in her hand. She points the cross to the sky and prays. As she prays, there is light everywhere. There were other people standing there with crosses in their hands. Now we look at 10 years later, and here we see a nurse named Narcissa. She reaches a church and sees that the church has many bullet marks on it. Meanwhile, another nun comes here who was the head of this church. She takes Narcissa inside the church and tells her that when it was peaceful after the war, everyone had left. Narcissa asks him who among the old people is here now. To which the head tells that among the old people I am another nurse and our head is the Mother Superior. Now this church has been converted into a hostel where children study. When she is looking at the hostel rooms, she sees a picture of the same girl in one of the rooms that we saw at the beginning of the movie. It's actually a photo of Narcissa herself, teaching at this church 10 years later. Narcissa, who was the nurse here before, had left the hostel and no one knew where she had gone. Now she reaches the room which is given to her, then she tries to keep her bag in one place. But the back doesn't go forward as if something is lying ahead. When she checks, she sees a bag there. When she opens the back, there is a picture of a nun and a pair of scissors. She picks up the picture and sees the name Socorro written on it. As soon as she calls his name, the chair in front of her starts moving. Then there is a loud knocking on the door from outside. She goes scared and opens the door. When she opens the door, no one is there. Now she sees a mark on the wall of her room which was not there before. As soon as she arrives in the classroom to teach the children the next day, the children in the classroom are quite surprised when she writes her name on the blackboard. Those children get very scared and start running away from the classroom. Now as soon as the class ends, Narcissa comes to the girl named Rosa and asks her why you all were so scared. Now, as soon as she starts to speak, her sister stands beside her and signals that she should not say anything. Now she is free from the classroom, and as soon as she returns to her room, she sees that earlier there was one mark on the wall, now there are two marks. But she doesn't pay attention to him. Now the Mother Superior shows Narcissa a photo album with pictures of all the nuns who died while working here. Now one of these pictures was missing. Narcissa understands that this picture must be of Socorro who is missing. Now she goes back to her room and starts looking at the picture again. Again and again the same thing happens in the room. The chair starts moving and there is a loud knocking on the door. Now she doesn't understand anything. She gets fed up with all these things and starts slapping herself. Rosa wakes up at night to use the washroom and hears strange noises. By the time she reached the washroom, the water tap had turned on by itself and the tub was overflowing and the water was moving automatically. Rosa was very scared. Now she sees someone's hair in the tub. As soon as someone hears a noise from behind, she gets very scared and starts screaming. Now all the children also got up after hearing his voice, and Head also went to their room after hearing the voice. A little girl named Alex also starts crying when Head approaches her and tells Head that someone cut my hair. Now Head angrily says who has done this. Meanwhile, Rosa is outside the washroom with hair in her hands, which makes everyone think that she is the one who cut Alex's hair. She was telling everyone I didn't do it at all, but no one believed her. Head beats Rosa a lot, but still she doesn't get peace. She locks her in a prison-like room. Next day when Narcissa comes to the class to teach the children, she finds out what happened yesterday with Rosa. She goes to meet Rosa and asks Rosa what happened. Rosa tells her everything and also says, "Ma'am, I saw someone's shadow in my washroom." She also tells him that Meme is someone's soul here who keeps teasing everyone. She also tells him that our teacher before you had two words written outside her room which are written outside your room. All of us children were very afraid of the sounds of soul. They said there is nothing like that here. They combined two words with one word when they completed the name and wrote it on our blackboard. Since then she has been missing and no one knows where she has gone. You came to the classroom on the first day, you wrote your name on the blackboard, and we were all scared because our first teacher before you had written something on that blackboard. And they are still missing. Now we see Narcissa who goes into the room where a sister is cooking food for the children and asks her to test the food. It looked like a sweet dish. When she eats it, it tastes very bad. Then she sees that something is coming out of her mouth and it was the eyes of a human. Blood started coming out of her mouth. She sees that these eyes belong to the sister who is standing in front of me. She was very scared after seeing all this. Then suddenly his eyes open. All this he had seen in a dream. Now we see that the marks that were forming in his room slowly turned into 2 hands and 1 foot. Now only 1 foot was left to grow, after which it too would die. The next day, while Narcissa is teaching in the classroom, we see the children start talking in hushed voices among themselves. Rosa ran away from the room. When Narcissa turns and looks at the blackboard, Rosa's name is written on it. She quickly runs after Rosa. She reassures Rosa that nothing happened. "Don't be afraid, I am with you." Rosa says that, "Madam, I see a child's soul everywhere." Narcissa tells Rosa to complete the last part of the picture with your hand. She tells Narcissa that there is no child's soul behind you but an adult's soul. When she looks back, there is no one there. When she turns back to Ruza, Ruza has disappeared from there. Both she and Ruza try to find Ruza, but she is nowhere to be found. Now Head suddenly comes in her way. She tells him everything, that Rosa has disappeared, on which she starts scolding him that all this happened because of you. Head was telling him that because she didn't want her hostel to be infamous at all. She now goes to a room looking for Rosa. The door of this room closes automatically. She sees someone's eyes at a place. When she moves towards them, more hands come from behind and grab her. But she gets out with a lot of difficulty. When she comes out, she finds Rosa dead and preparations are being made to bury her. It makes him very sad to see all this. His heart was broken. She decides that she will leave the school, and when she goes out she sees that there is an eclipse of the sun outside and it is dark everywhere. It was exactly the scene he had seen as a child. Now as she looked at the sun, there was light everywhere but her eyes were gone. She was lost in a world of imagination. She seemed to go back many years. She sees when the church was occupied. She sees that one of the bandits has abused and forced Sister Socorro, and so disgusted by all of this that she lets out a loud scream that brings her back to the present, after which everyone realizes that Narcissa's eyes are gone. They all pick her up and take her to her room and lay her on the bed. Now she grabs Socorro's picture again, then she goes back to the past. In the past we see that the nun gave birth to a baby girl who was the daughter of the bandit. Madame Superior takes care of this girl and does not let her go out of the church at all so that our church will not be disgraced. Narcissa is instantly transported back to the present. She sees Socorro Nin's soul in front of her. Narcissa grabs Socorro's hand after seeing so much abuse. She goes back to the past and sees that her daughter is now grown up. One day the girl had a high fever, but Madame Superior wouldn't let her out of the cold so that people wouldn't find out that she was Socorro and Daco's daughter. They try to treat the girl themselves. They bandage her with cold water. In order to reduce his fever, they also put him in a tub, but the water in this tub was too cold. She starts writhing in the cold water. Suddenly her head hits the tub, blood starts to flow out, and she stops moving. Due to their small mistake, the girl's life is lost. When her mother finds out, she can't bear her grief and she also dies. Now Narcissa opens the door in which Madame Superior has locked her. No one was allowed to open this room. As soon as the room opens, both past and present time begin to flow. 3 people were responsible for her daughter's death. One was the Madame Superior, the other was the head of the nun, and the third was another nun. In the past tense we see Socorro, and in the present Socorro had a soul. In the past, the score breaks the head nun's neck, which also kills her in the present. Now she is in the past and kills Madame Superior by immersing her in the tub, which also killed her in the present. And she also kills the third nun in the past, which also kills her in the present. Thus Socorro avenges her daughter's murder. Now that she had left after avenging her daughter's murder, there was complete peace in the school. And the movie ends here. If you like our explanation, please like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks.